Hi, in this lesson 4, we shall be looking more deeply into solving real life problems. But first of all, before we go into solving these things, there are some things we got to learn here in addition to what we have learned. Number one is what we call the input function. We're going to learn what we call the Python modules. Python modules. So we're going to learn these two things, and then before we can be able to approach some of these questions, this is going to give you a clue on how to create a software, because every of the conditions you're going to be writing are formulations primarily on how to create software, simple softwares that can solve man's problem. So first of all, what is an input function? Input function is the function we use to collect data from a user. So let's say I'm here and I want to collect data from me. I'm like age, and then age variable, and then I say input. So I'm going to tell the user to enter your age. I'll give a space for the user to type. So I'm going to print age. So if I do this now, it's going to be printed. It's going to be printed. Let's check out. Let me clear up this place, and then you check out. Let me stop it. Then we check out. You see, enter your age, but it's not providing any space for me to type because we are running this in output. Output is read-only mode, so we are going to move into terminal to be able to write this, because terminal is read and write only mode. So we are going to run by clicking Python file. So it's going to load. It will activate enter your age. I can see my age is 27, and then I enter. It's going to print 27. I can make some concatenation here where I can impute a format function or activate a format function where I can say your age is your age. So if we should print again, it's going to make a beautiful text for us. We are going to say, let me say 27, and then enter. You're going to say your age is 27. So I can say here, you are you are 8 years old. So it's going to give us you are 8 years old. Let's print again. I'm going to put the age here again, 27. And I'm going to say you are 27 years old. Beautiful. So this is the work function of the input function. So it collects users data and then returns the user's data that was collected. So this is the user's data. So that is how input works. The next thing we're going to learn is what we call the modules, Python modules, or what we call the Python libraries. Python libraries are libraries or modules that the two words are used interchangeably. That's why I'm using the two words. So are already made functions that has been done for us and stored somewhere for us to use. So for example, math functions, like I'm going to say import math. So let me remove it. The import math means I am importing math library from the Python library to use some of the functions in this library to solve mathematical problems. So I'm going to say in this place right now, where I want to find the power of a particular thing or the square root of a particular number, I'm going to say math. Let x be the variable that stores math dot square roots. As you can see, you see several options that is using. I'm going to find the square root of 12. All of this. So I'm going to print what's x. So we are printing x. So let me return to the Python code now, and then we print x. So this is actually disturbing us. So I'm going to comment out this one so that it will not be reading when we really need to work in the next one. So let me run it again. So let me clear all of this place and then run x. So you see that the square root of 12 is 3.46. So that is how it is. So what I want to find a power, I'm going to say x as a variable name, and then I say math dot power. Power has to do with two parameters. The first one is the actual number, and the second number is the power or exponential strength. So I'm going to print x right now. You're going to find it means that 10 raised to the power of 2. That is what it means. So it's going to give us 100. That is 10 times 10. So that's so beautiful. And what this expression means is that inside the maths library, we have a function called power. So it should fetch out power for us because we want to use the function power and then to solve some mathematical problems. So this has solved the issue of me coming here and say x variable is going straight and say 10 raised to the power of, this is exponential 2. And then I am printing x in this regard. So if I should print x, it's still the same thing as using the math function. So this is how we render exponential without using the math function. Bear this in mind. You can keep a record of all of this in your notes because it's so important. In programming, we have two types of modules, or what we call the libraries, which we have the standard libraries and the libraries that we create by our own self. So as a programmer that I am, I have some libraries or some functions that I've generated for myself to carry out some specific functions. So I store those functions in my own specific libraries that I use every time I want to work. So these are functions I create for myself. But there are also what we call the standard libraries, which one of the examples is a map here. It is found in Python store. So those ones are what we call the standard libraries. Let's look at another standard library. I'm going to import date time. Date time is a Python standard library that helps us to know the actual date and time that we are in. So it works directly. So I'm going to say let x be the variable that stores date time dot now. So this now function is going to give us the actual date time of today. Print date time, print x. So let's check out and see what it's printing for us. So it's showing error. The error is coming and it's saying it has no attributes called date time. So what I'm going to do is datetime dot datetime dot now. This is the proper rendition of it. The datetime we imported, which is this one, so we are fetching datetime function from this datetime, and then we are setting it to the now date. That is what it means. Okay, it's working now. So we have the date of today, which is 26th of 1st, as at the time I'm recording this video, and then 2024. So we have, this is a period I'm recording this video. This is the hour, this the minutes, and the seconds. So it's going to give the actual time that we are, and then the nanoseconds. Okay, what if we want to print year or month or day or weekday out of this date time? All I've got to do, I'm going to set a variable called x again and say date time that we imported dot date time dot the current date that we have, which is called now, and then I'll say dot year. So we are printing year. So it's going to give us the year, current year that we are. I'm going to say print x. Yep. So I'm going to run this here, and then let's check out. It's printing 2024 here. Beautiful. So you can also do it for the month, do it for the day and the weekday. So this is all about that. Now let's go into solving some questions right now, and then regards this. I'm going to open this. This is our question. I'm going to bring those questions here, solve some few of them. In our next lesson, we solve the rest. So I'm going to get some questions, like 2 questions from here, and then we solve the rest in our next lesson to avoid long video. All right, so the question says write a statement that, let me close this and say write a statement that shows 145 is divisible by 2 without a remainder or not, and then find the area of a circle where radius is 10. First of all, you got to understand what this statement is all about. This is a mathematical statement, and I want to, and seriously, for those of you that has been running from mathematics, programming is going to open your eyes to some simple mathematics in a broader way. And it's quite simple because the mathematics in programming is targeting a real life issue. Yeah, so that makes it interesting to learn, and I hope that you're going to learn and then be so happy about it. So I'm going to write a statement right now that shows that 145 is divisible by 2 without a remainder, or is not divisible by 2. So let's check. I'm going to set a variable where I'm going to say the number, let me say number is 145, right? So I'm going to set the condition based on this variable. I'll say if number is divisible by 2 and its remainder is 0. This expression means if it is divisible by 2 without a remainder, so it returns 0. If it is without remainder, it means 0. So if you divide 145, or we divide number by 2, what is going to be the remainder? That is what this expression means. So modulus is what we call the remainder in mathematics, in your general mathematics. So modulus is remainder. So putting this modulus is okay. You may try to say divided by 2 here without remainder, but This is not a good expression because if you say divided by 2, it's not supposed to equate 0. When you divide number by 2, it's going to give you something like about 72.5. It's not equating to 0. So this operator is cancelled. The best operator to use is this one. So this one is saying that if you divide this by 2 and the remainder is 0, that's what it means. So I'm going to say, put a code block here and say print for us what we call the number is divisible by 2. So I can make a format function here to manipulate the string. I can say the number, which is number, So the number 145 is divisible by 2. So that is what it means. And then I inserted something here. This is what we call code block. So I'm going to explain what it means later in our course. So don't worry much about it yet. But this activates what we call the indentation block, which is this. This space here to this place is showing that everything you're writing here is inside the if conditional statement. So this indentation, just like your simple English expression, is actually telling you that, okay, this is in this same paragraph. That's what it means. So, but for the sake of the programming, we are not calling it falling into the same paragraph, but falling into a same code block of the if statement. So I'm going to break out of the if statement and then find my else, and then I'll say else. It should print for us let me activate the format function here, and then I say the number, and then I'll say number is not divisible by 2. All right, let's print out. Let me clear up this place, and then let's print and see. You said the number 145 is not divisible by 2. So this is a perfect one. As a matter of fact, it is not divisible by 2. All right. Then we fall into the second question. You're not going to use the conditional statement no more, but to find some mathematical understanding here. But to solve generally this. So I'm going to bring this question here. We are going to say find the area of a circle where the radius is 10. First of all, we are going to look at what is the formula for calculating the area of a circle. So I'm going to say area of a circle is pi r square, right? Pi dot r raised to the power of 2. Right, that is it. By r square. Let me do it this way. So having understood, we have radius, which is the r here, to be given as r. So I'm going to come here and say r variable is 10. Setting r as a variable as 10. So I'm collecting the values right now. I'm going to say pi variable is, how do we find pi? I can just generate pi from the math function that we imported here. So pi can be gotten from here. So I'm going to say math.pi I wouldn't want to use our normal pi. I've collected the two important things that forms the area. So I'm going to now calculate what area is. So I'm going to say area as a variable is going to be equal to pi times r raised to the power of 2. This is beautiful. So I'm going to print area. So area is going to be printed for us. But I'm going to make some statements here and activate the format function. Here I'm going to say the area of the circle where the given radius is r is, and then I'm going to put area there. Area. That's fine. Beautiful. So area is being given here. So if we should print directly, you're going to see that we're going to find the area of a circle. So I'm going to say the area of the circle where the given radius is 10. Now r was passed because 10 was stored as a value. R here is 314.15. So this is the area of a circle we are finding here. So you can also use the expression power in this place instead of using 2 asterisk. To be more specific, I can say area here is going to be pi multiplied by power. So in the power, I'm going to say r comma 2. R comma 2. Then I print area. So I'm going to say, I'm going to print this area here, this one here. Yep, this is beautiful. So I'm going to say the area of a circle is this. So either of these is working very fine. So the area all are the same. So this is to help you understand how to use the math library to get what you want in calculation. You can see that you have actually solved a mathematical problem. So how can you turn this particular work to something like a software? I'm talking about where a user can relate with what you have given to solve his or her problem quickly. So all you've got to do is to provide what we call the input function that lets the user to type maybe the given radius. So I'm going to say user as the name, as a variable name, and then I pass inputs, and I'll say, I'll give the user instruction, enter the given radius. Yep. The user is going to write in the given radius. So in this place right now, I'm going to make the expression and then conclude. So I'm going to just come here and then I'll say here, pi area is going to be pi dot power radius. Here I'm going to put user because it's going to be fetched based on what the user is providing in this place. So let's run this using our terminal. We are going to have an issue here because if I say 20 is going to have a calculation issue. Let's run it and see. You're going to see that it's saying unsupported operand for this and this, that's string and integer. So it's not making mathematical calculation here in relation to the string and integer. Where's the string coming from? You can see that in this place, it is what the user imputed here is a string because it imputed it inside this quote. So it is number string that the user provided, and what we did here was a pure number data calculation. So what we got to do is to convert the user's inputs to number. So I'm going to say integer is number conversion, and then put this inside it. So let's run this guy again, and then we find the radius to be 20, and then it's telling us that the area of a circle where the given number radius is 10. Okay, where the given radius is user, let's pass user here so that it can tell the user what he or she provided. So let's run it again and say something here. Let's pass the 20 again and then enter. You say the area of the circle where the given radius is dynamically changed to 20 now based on what the user has provided is 1256 point this. But we're going to have issue here because our app or software is not going to function very properly, because what if the user is now imputing like about 20.5? Here is going to be an issue because it's saying invalid literal. This is a value error. Invalid literal for integer with base 10. It means that the user imputed a floating point number instead of an integer. So this is not going to solve the issue when the user is putting a decimal point number. So what we're going to do here is to convert that place to float. So it has now been a floating point number, and that is so beautiful. So what you're going to do is to run it again. When you run it and enter, I say 20.5, it's going to give us, you see, very perfect. And then you say it gives what the user imputed. So that's beautiful. So in our next lesson, we shall be looking into solving more deeper and complex problems. Thank you. See you in the next class.